Hi, I'm disability lawyer David Brannon. I'm going to take you through some tips on things you should be doing the day before your hearing before the Social Security Tribunal. So after watching this video, you'll have a better idea of some things you should be thinking about and doing on the day before your hearing to make sure that you're ready before you go to your Social Security Tribunal the next day. If you like this video, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us your comments. If you have any comments, we'd be happy to answer them. So what do you do the day before your Social Security Tribunal hearing? This is a time when there's going to be a lot of anxiety. You're going to be very nervous. And so what I'd like to do is just give you an idea of some of the things you could be doing to prepare the day before so that when the hearing starts tomorrow, you're going to be ready. And hopefully this will reduce some of your anxiety because you'll feel more prepared and ready to go. One of the first things you should do the day before the hearing is to make sure that you have a full copy of the hearing file ready and at your fingertips. I highly recommend that this be printed out, and ideally it should be bound into a binder or into a coil ring or something like that. We get them bound up professionally, but at the very least you could put it in a binder so that it's easy for you to reference it. Now, it's important that this thing be organized so that we've covered other videos on how to organize your hearing file. I won't go over that right now, but needless to say that you need to have a full copy of the hearing file, all the official volumes that came from the Social Security Tribunal in the proper order so that right at your fingertips, easy to go. And it should be printed. You don't want to be fiddling around on a computer trying to find it and things like that. Get it. It's too critical, and there's going to be too little time here at the hearing that you need to be able to reference this thing. It's best to have it printed. The second thing is it also relates to the hearing file. So the day before, you should by now have identified the key documents that you want to refer to during the hearing that you might want to point out to the judge that are going to be important for your case. You should have those flagged in some manner. Now, you can buy these little sticker flags that go on so that you can easily find the page where they're at. You can use Post-it notes, whatever. Or you can just write out the page. You can have a list. If you don't have flags, you can just have a list handy of all the pages that you want to refer to and the page numbers. Now, the hearing file is numbered by the Social Security Tribunal, and so you can use that numbering system to refer to what pages things are at. But you should have a list of the important documents that you want to refer to and you want to make sure the judge looks at during your hearing, and have that list ready to go the day before. Closely related to that, you need to have an outline of your presentation. So if you're representing yourself, you need to have an outline of what you're going to present to the hearing judge. You should not be going into a hearing with no plan and no mapped out presentation. That is a recipe for disaster. If that happens, you just go in there and you're more likely to ramble on. Now, if you're representing yourself, the judge will ask you questions and things like that, but really then you're on their agenda. And while that's important because you want to answer things they want to know, you really want to be setting your own narrative and making sure that they're aware of the documents and information that supports your narrative on why you should be approved. Now, they're going to have ideally you will have already given them a written submission that kind of sets that out. But usually why the hearing is effective is you can kind of add to that, give more details, explain things more. So it's important that you have a plan of what are you going to give further explanation to? What are you going to explain? That kind of thing. And so it should be a written plan, and you should have a written plan out the day before, an outline of here's the topics I'm going to cover. You don't have to write out like a script to read. In fact, I would urge you not to do that. Put bullet points of the key things. That way, as you're going through, you can check off to make sure you've covered everything, especially if you have memory issues. That's how a lawyer would do it. That's how I do it. I have a list of everything I want to cover. I check it off because I could forget things as well. They're in the middle of a hearing. So you need to have your outline ready of what you're going to cover and the topics. The next thing you should have is what I would suggest, especially if you're representing yourself, is you have to do the best possible job of trying to identify what the red flags are going to be from the judge's perspective. This is the hardest thing for you to do on your own, and this is where the greatest value comes from hiring a lawyer or a really experienced advocate, is they'll be able to spot these red flags immediately. Sometimes you just will be blind to them because no one is good at identifying their own faults and flaws. You may have excuses for them and this kind of stuff. So Ideally, you should have a list of these red flags, these key burning issues or problems that the judge is going to have, because they're going to ask you about them. So you should try to anticipate what these questions are going to be in advance, these red flag issues, and prepare some kind of bullet point responses and how you're going to respond to them when they're asked. And your responses need to be responses that are not including any type of excuses, blame on other people. That cannot be how you respond to these red flags. It cannot be making excuses and blame. If your answers are blame and excuses, then you're going to be in trouble, really. So you want to have a list of what these red flags are going to be. They're different in every case, so I can't tell you what they would be in your case without doing a full review, but you have to be ready to answer these red flags because these are going to be the key points on your case. And often if a judge is on the fence, how you answer some of these red flag questions are going to be very important. So another thing you need to be thinking about the day before is how you're going to access the hearing itself. So there's a couple options here. If you're doing a telephone conference, make sure that you have the 1-800 number, the telephone conference line number that you need to call in for, and that you've got that located, ready to go, highlighted. And there's a main teleconference line that you call in, and they give you a code, an access code. So make sure you have those two things ready to go the day before. Now you'll find that number, it'll be in the document sent to you from the Social Security Tribunal, but just make sure you have it handy, ready to go so that you're not going to panic and can't find the phone number tomorrow. Next thing, if you're doing a Zoom video conference on your mobile device or on your own computer, you don't want to be trying to test that out the first time when you try to log in tomorrow morning. So no later than the day before, you need to have downloaded the Zoom app to your phone or to your computer. And if you don't know what the Zoom app is, then go get help, because you got to have that on your computer. There's a software that you need to have on your computer to run Zoom for this hearing. So you should get the Zoom app, and you should test out a Zoom with somebody else before the hearing so you're comfortable how to log in, how it works, so that you're not trying to figure that all out the morning of. Zoom is a free app. You can get it and set it up with a family member or friend to practice. You can set up a conference between yourselves and just practice logging in, how to click the video to get it on, make sure your mic is working, and make sure your computer has a working mic and all that. That the other people can hear you. Very important to do that the day before at the latest. And finally, if you're dealing with in-person hearing, either you're going to do in-person video conference at a Service Canada Center, or your actual hearing itself is going to be held in person at a center, then get the directions out the day before. Make sure you know where you're going. Plan it out so that if you're going to deal with traffic and things like that you're going to be able to get there early enough. And plan ahead. If you're going to one of these Service Canada centers where your hearing is going to be held in person or a video conference on site, keep in mind that this is the Service Canada Center where everybody goes for their EI, for every other Service Canada thing. And you could get there. There could be one person at the front desk and a lineup out the door. That's happened to me before. So if you're going to one of these centers, plan ahead that you're going to arrive there at least an hour early. And trust me on this. You got to get there an hour early. Make sure you get in there and have, then you may have to sit around and wait, but you don't want to just show up there and then you get there and there's a lineup, a half an hour lineup, and your hearing starts in 10 minutes. They're not going to let you cut the line, in my experience, you'll have a bunch of other cranky people there, all have their own issues and things they want dealt with. So you got to get there early. So the last thing would be, if you are planning on if it's going to be a Zoom conference that you're doing from your home, or a teleconference, there's a few things you need to do. Number one, you need to plan ahead with your family and let them know how serious this is, this hearing. This is a serious hearing. You cannot have a hearing where kids are walking around, coming up and screaming and yelling at you, dogs barking, people coming in and saying, oh, there's someone at the door, I got to go get the door. You can't have none of that. You have to treat this as a very serious hearing, because it is. If you're disrespecting the process and not treating it seriously, you're going to lose, because they're going to realize anyone who was serious about this would be treating this very seriously. So you need to be treating it very seriously. That's something the judge is going to expect. So you cannot have interruptions. You cannot have kids coming in. You cannot have dogs. You can't say, hold on, I got to take another call. None of that stuff, okay? So the day before, you need to plan that out. Get the kids out of the house, or you leave the house and go to someone else's house where it's going to be quiet and nobody around. You can't have other people in the room when you're doing your testimony. It has to just be you. So you have to plan it out. Like, where am I going to be for this? Where am I going to take the call? Where am I going to do the video conference? Make sure that wherever you're going to do it, you're going to have good internet reception if you're using video conference, or telephone reception if you got a cell phone or something like that. Okay, so you got to plan it out ahead of time where you're going to be. I've had clients who the only place they could get a quiet place to do this without everyone disrupting them was to go out in the car. Some had to drive down the road so the kids and everybody would think they were gone, and they just couldn't come out and start beating on the car and stuff like that. Okay, so you do what you got to do, but you need a quiet environment, and you got to plan for that. Now, the next thing you want to do the day before is just, if you're going to have witnesses, you want to confirm with them that they know when they're going to be called, or when they need to, dial into the Zoom conference or phone in, or if it's an in-person hearing where they got to show up to. So make sure that the witnesses you're confirming with them that this is going ahead tomorrow. Here's the time when we think you're going to be called in. Usually they want to do the witnesses after they've heard from you, but it just depends. You can really do them anytime that's most convenient for the witness. So if you have any witnesses, confirm with them the day before, and then you're ready to go. And that's pretty much it. Those are the main things that you should be doing the day before the hearing. Ultimately, you would have been preparing leading up to that, but those are the things you need to nail down the day before to make sure that when you wake up tomorrow for your hearing, that you're not going to be in panic mode, scrambling around, trying to figure out what to do. You should have everything laid out. You know where you're going to be. Everybody's aware how serious this is. There's not going to be interruptions, and you're going to give yourself the best possible chance to give a good presentation. Now, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below or reach out to us. And also, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification, and we'll see you back here next time.